At 9 o'clock, one morning late in July, Gatsby's gorgeous car lurched up the rocky drive to my door and gave out a burst of melody from its three-noted horn. It was the first time he had called on me, though I had gone to 2 of his parties, mounted in his hydroplane, and, at his urgent invitation, made frequent use of his beach.
Good morning, old sport. You're having lunch with me today, and I thought we'd ride up together.
He was balancing himself on the dashboard of his car with that resourcefulness of movement that is so peculiarly American that comes, I suppose, with the absence of lifting work or rigid sitting in youth, and even more with the formless grace of our nervous, sporadic games. This quality was continually breaking through his punctilious manner in the shape of restlessness. He was never quite still. There was always a tapping foot somewhere, or the impatient opening and closing of a hand. It was almost as if he was ever so inclined to tell me something. He saw me looking with admiration at his car.
It's pretty as an old sport. Haven't you ever seen it before?
I'd seen it. Everybody had seen it. It was a luscious and deep yellow, bright accents of faint burgundy and sky blue, swollen here and there in its monstrous length with triumphant hat boxes and supper boxes and toolboxes, interlaced with a labyrinth of windshields that mirrored a dozen suns. Sitting down behind many layers of glass in a sort of cream leather conservatory, we started to town. I had talked with him perhaps half a dozen times in the past month and found, to my disappointment, that he had little to say. So my first impression that he was a person of some undefined consequence had gradually faded, and he had become simply the proprietor of an elaborate roadhouse next door. And then came that transformative ride that I've always carried with me to this day. We hadn't reached Westlake Village before Gatsby began leaving his elegant sentences unfinished and slapping himself indecisively on the knee of his caramel-colored suit. I sensed that he was pondering on whether he should reveal something to me, something that would never allow me to view him the same, ever again.
Look here, old sport. What's your opinion of me, anyhow?
Overwhelmed, his question made me realize that I barely knew the guy in real life. The sad reality of it was most of what I did know about Gatsby had derived from what I had perceived via the whispers and murmurs of his guests. To counter my conviction and uneasiness, I began to conjure up an array of flattering assumptions that almost anybody would naturally tell anyone whom they've barely known.
Well, I'll tell you the honest truth, Gatsby. If I had been your father, I would be proud to call you my son. Truly, I would. You know, I am inspired by the way that you've built yourself to be who you are today. You know, I love your fashion, and, you know, you're just so...
I'm gonna stop you right there, old sport. If you don't mind, please refrain from giving me another compliment. You don't belong to me anyhow.
I was quite flabbergasted when I perceived this. Something within me had always thought that people who have the opportunity to achieve a position similar to his love the idea of hearing other people conversing about all the things they've done right in their lives. Instantly reminded of what he had said at the end of his statement, I asked him in both childlike wonder and nervousness.
What do you mean they don't belong to you?
Well, old sport, this is one of the reasons I had you come with me, other than take you out for lunch on this fine afternoon. Lately, it's been on my conscience to gird up my loins like a man for once, tell you everything you need to know about me. Look here, dear Nick. God is my witness. Before I had you come with me today, I had originally intended to blatantly lie to your face.
Lie to me, you say?
Yes, old sport. I was going to tell you that I had come from a wealthy family out in the Middle West. They had all died, and I'd been educated at Oxford University ever since I acquired a great deal of money from my inheritance.
Something within him had begun to relax. Even his suit, which had always seemed ultra-tailored to his coveted body type, had started to crease and fold a bit.
Well, between you and me, Gatsby, I would have believed you.
That's why I'm breaking away from my script, old sport. I've been self-inflicting myself for far too long.
For the first time, I saw Gatsby as more than an unseen, ominous figure. I saw him as an ordinary man who was going to tell me unordinary things.
Alright, now, enough of these vain emotions. There's no better way than to start from the beginning.
His voice was solemn, as if the memory of that sudden extinction of a clan still haunted him. For a moment I suspected that he was pulling my leg, but a glance at him convinced me otherwise.
The name given to me by my parents was not Jay Gatsby, but James Gats. I'd grown up on a North Dakotan farm for the first 17 or so years of my life. My parents were shiftless and unsuccessful farm people. Truth be told, Nick, my imagination had never really accepted them as my parents at all. I created this platonic conception, this ideal version of myself, this Jay Gatsby that you know me as, when I was only a boy. It was almost in that very moment in which I witnessed the beginning of my career, when I saw Dan Cody's yacht drop anchor over the most insidious flood in Lake Superior. I eventually worked for that man until his death. As the hard worker I was, he left his inheritance to me, a legacy of $25,000. I didn't get it. Never understood the legal device that was used against me, and what remained of the money when attacked to a woman who, in my heart's deepest conspiracies, was the cause of his death. The true way in my fortune was less than ethical. My closest business partner, Meyer Wolfsheim, is the man who's helped me most. You'll be meeting him soon enough. To be sincere with you, old sport, I've participated in my fair share of bootlegging, buying up drugstores around the city for I and Wolfsheim to run our ventures.
Even though he probably only said fragments of the truth, I could tell that letting it out was quite the relief for him. The glint in his eyes seemed to hold a small glimmer of hope. He cleared his throat, realizing his vulnerability, before slipping back into his mask of bravado.
From what Jordan's told you in the recent past, you must likely know my original intent was to use you to get Daisy back.
Yes, I gathered that now.
Gatsby's face began to fluctuate a brilliant pink color. His body language had started to convince me that he felt that all his actions were starting to accumulate into one single conviction that had begun to tear him apart from within.
Well, Nick, those intentions belong to Jay Gatsby, and I'm ridding myself of him once and for all. He's never served me right anyhow. The favor I was going to ask for, old sport, forget about it. I'll go to Daisy myself, but as my true self, as James Gats.
Well, Gatsby, if I thought I admired you before, it can't quite compare to how moved I am of you right now.
Thank you, Nick.
This was a man with many problems. He had made all the events of his life an opportunity to make a grievous transaction. A transaction that forsook the only thing that could ever make him happy in his life. His true self. I'm not sure what the rest of his life was going to look like, but I knew that it was going to lead to a more content future for him. I wanted to be his friend in the future, and I felt as though he wanted the same thing. As we ended our route on the highway, our journey had almost reached its resolution. We jumped out of the car to walk up to the restaurant.
Come on, old sport. I gotta have you eat the best New York steak in town. It's on me.
Getting out, I put my coat in the car. Closing it, I noticed the way Gats's car shined in its rich cream color. His change of mind and attitude had not only rippled into his reality, but in mine as well. I felt honored that he allowed me to see the real him, once and for all.
You coming, old sport?
Coming.